exclusive interviews, and ship analysis. Blaze Radio 90.7 FM News, real people, real impact. Because when it matters most, we are already there. Blaze FM News up next. In a world where every second counts, information is power. And at Blaze Radio 90.7 FM, we keep that power in your hands. From the heart of the city to the corners of the globe, we bring you breaking stories.
The police is putting fear in the citizen. There is no process in this place for the police to be putting fear in the citizen. I think it's wrong. We have situation here. It is right to either remove the speaker or let the speaker be there. And we have the number for the speaker to remain as speaker.
Political insights.
A very pleasant good evening from Painesville and welcome to Blaze News Point. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and Africa and the rest of our one world. Today is Friday, July 3, 2026. My name is Menso Mendy on top of today's presentation. Stories topping the headline: Foreign Minister Sarah Beslo Yanti commends the government of Japan for its long-standing support to Liberia's development, describing Japan as one of the country's most dependable development partners. Political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change, Simon Freeman, calls on the international community to sanction President Joseph Boakai and ordered government officials for allegedly failing to arrest individuals linked to the U.S. 19.2 million cocaine seizure case. Executive Director of the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force, Edwin Clamartin, welcomes criminal case rejection of the surety bond filed by former Chief of Protocol Nora Fendabondo. And away from Liberia, authorities in Monaco investigate a parcel bombing case that left a Ukrainian multi-millionaire, his partners, and their 13-year-old son seriously injured. The news bulletin, the voice of those making the news post, are all packaged on today's presentation. But first is Aruna Kobogi and the news bulletin. Good evening, Aruna.
Good evening, Mendy, and good evening, Liberians. Liberia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sarah Beslo Nyanti, has commended the government of Japan for its long-standing support to Liberia's development, describing Japan as one of the country's most dependable development partners. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the extension of the Japan Freeway in Monrovia, Minister Nyantin said Japan has played a key role in Liberia's post-war recovery through investments in roads, agricultural fisheries, healthcare, education, and food security. She said the freeway extension will improve access between the free port of Monrovia and the national road network, making it easier to move goods and services, reducing transportation costs, improve road safety, and boost trade and economic growth. Also speaking, the chairman of the House Committee on Public Works, Enes Mensah, called for strict accountability and transparency in the implementation of the project, warning that any misuse of donor funds could damage Liberia's credibility and affect future international support. He urged the Ministry of Public Works to ensure that all funds allocated to the project are used strictly for their intended purpose and with full transparency throughout implementation. At the same time, Japan's ambassador to Liberia, Hiroshi Yoshimoto, says the extension of the corridor represents another major milestone in the long-standing friendship and development partnership between Japan and Liberia. Ambassador Yoshimoto said the project is more than the construction of a road, describing it as a symbol of the trust and cooperation that have existed between the two countries for decades. The political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change, Simeon Freeman, is calling on the United States and other international partners to impose sanctions on President Joseph Boakai, Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn, and other government officials over what he described as the government's failure to swiftly arrest those linked to the recent USD 19.2 million cocaine seizure. Speaking Friday on Prime FM in Monrovia, Freeman accused the government of failing to act promptly after the Ministry of Justice identified several persons of interest in the ongoing investigation. He argued that individuals working in airport security, cargo handling, and logistics should have been arrested immediately after authorities intercepted the 237.6 kilograms of cocaine. In a separate statement, Freeman also urged the government to transition from printing additional Liberian dollars banknotes to adopting a digital money system. His comments follow the Central Bank of Liberia's request for legislative approval to print up to 79 billion Liberian dollars to replace mutilated banknotes and meet increasing demand for local currency. Freeman believes expanding digital payment system would reduce the circulation of damaged banknotes and improve the country's financial system. The executive director of the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force, Edwin Clementine, has welcomed Criminal Code C Judge Usman Fekka's decision to reject the surety bond filed by former Chief of Protocol Finda Bondo. Speaking to reporters after the ruling, Martin said the court's decision supports the prosecution's concerns about the bond and demonstrates the government's commitment to pursuing corruption-related cases through the judiciary process. He explained that the court found deficiencies in the bond and questioned the qualifications of the proposed sureties. Martin added that prosecutors will carefully review any new bond submitted by the defense to ensure it meets all legal requirements. The task force executive director also disclosed that Bondo remains under trial restrictions because of the criminal charges against her, and warned that if a valid bond is not filed within the court's 72-hour deadline, the prosecution will take the appropriate legal actions. Meanwhile, CDC supporter Abdul Kane has expressed confidence that former Chief of Protocol Finda Bondo will be acquitted with the charges against her. Kane argued that the government lacks sufficient evidence to secure a conviction and described the prosecution as politically motivated. He urged the government to focus on addressing national issues, maintaining that Bondo will ultimately be vindicated in court. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Garfan says the success of Liberia's road infrastructure program should be judged by completed roads, not by the number of financing agreements the government signs. Speaking on the implementation of road projects, Minister Garfan explained that many projects experience delays because financing agreements must first be ratified by the legislature before they become effective. He also noted that construction cannot begin until the government fulfills resettlement action plans, which include compensating and relocating individuals and businesses affected by the project. The minister said the Boakai administration inherited several steel road projects due to unpaid resettlement obligations and outstanding debts owed to contractors. Garfan further disclosed that the government has allocated about USD 25 million in the current fiscal year to meet its debt obligations to the World Bank, warning that failure to honor those commitments could lead to sanctions and delay key development projects. He said the government's commitment to meeting its financial obligation has helped maintain donor confidence and keep critical infrastructure projects on track. Liberia's Information Minister Jeremiah Pia is urging media institutions across the country to uphold professional and ethical standards while supporting efforts by the Press Union of Liberia to strengthen media self-regulation. Speaking on a local radio program, Minister Pia said journalists and broadcasters have a responsibility to provide accurate, balanced, and credible information that promotes national development and reinforces Liberia's democracy. He expressed concerns over what he described as the growing spread of misinformation and personal attacks against public officials through some media outlets, while noting that the government remains committed to protecting freedom of expression. Minister Pia stressed that the Bouaka administration has no intention of shutting down media institutions. However, he cautioned that individuals who believe they have been defamed by false reporting have the legal right to seek redress through the courts. The Witness Protection Agency says the government of Liberia is strengthening its criminal justice system through improved order protecting investigations and ensuring accountability in high-profile narcotic persecutions. He explained that existing laws provide for the protection of witnesses at various stages of the justice process, including during investigation and pre-trial proceedings, particularly for individuals providing credible information. Anthony Gracebier also disclosed that some suspects in recent drugs-related cases are cooperating with law enforcement authorities to help identify others linked to criminal networks. He further emphasized that Liberia's witness protection system operates under national laws and international conventions, adding that all investigative procedures must comply with international human rights standards. The Liberia Telecommunication Authority, LTA, has intensified its nationwide cybersecurity awareness campaign with a major training program in Banga Bonkanti. Speaking in an interview, LTA Commissioner Angela Cassiel-Bush said cybersecurity awareness is critical for students, parents, businesses, and government institutions as cyber threats continue to grow with advances in technology. She said the campaign, which began more than 2 years ago, aims to educate Liberians on cybercrime prevention, online safety, and the dangers of cyberbullying. According to the Commissioner Bush, this year's program targets students in grade 6 through 9, with a special focus on encouraging more girls to pursue careers in technology. More than 500 students participated in the training, which included presentation by local cybersecurity experts and virtual sessions with specialists from Jamaica and the United States. And away from home, authorities in Monaco are investigating a partial bombing case that left a Ukrainian multimillionaire, his partner, and their 13-year-old son seriously injured. The city state deputy prosecutor says the main suspect is believed to have been disguised as a man at the time of the attack. Investigator says the suspect allegedly left a package at the entrance of an apartment building before fleeing the scene on foot and later driving into Germany. The explosion occurred shortly after the package was delivered just before 9 p.m. local time on Monday. Well, Menso is back to you for the continuation of Blaze News Point.
Arunan Kobogid with the news bulletin is indeed a record of featured on Blaze News Point. For new fast, factual, and always up to date, you are just in tune to Blaze News Point. Here are the big stories topping the headlines. Foreign Minister Sarah Basil Yanti commends the government of Japan for its long-standing support to Liberia's development, describing Japan as one of the country's most dependable development partners. Political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change, Simon Freeman, calls on the international community to sanction President Joseph Boakai and other government officials for alleged debt fielding, to arrest individuals linked to the U.S. $19.2 million cocaine seizure case. Executive Director of the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force, Edwin Calamartin, welcomes criminal case rejection of the surety bond filed by former Chief of Protocol Nora Findabondo. And away from Liberia, authorities in Monaco investigate a parcel bombing case that left a Ukrainian multi-millionaire, his partner, and their 13-year-old son seriously injured. The voices of those making the news polls are still ahead, but this break, Toby, we're back. Welcome back to Bliss News Point. We don't take our first development. Liberia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sarah Beslo Yantid, has commended the government of Japan for its long-standing support to Liberia's development, describing Japan as one of the country's most dependable development partners. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the extension of the Japan Freeway in Monrovia, the Minister Yanti said Japan has played a key role in Liberia's post-war recovery through investment in roads, agriculture, fisheries, healthcare, education, and food security.
Construction of the original Japanese freeway to investments in agriculture, fisheries, healthcare, education, food security, and so many others. Japan's contributions to our post-war recovery and national transformation has been unwavering. Japan has demonstrated commitment and has stood with Liberia through the test of time. As the principal gateway to Liberia's maritime trade, the Freeport of Monrovia is central to our national economy. Improving connectivity between the Freeport and the national road network will facilitate the efficient movement of goods and services, reduce transportation costs, enhance road safety, improve logistics, stimulate commerce, and strengthen Liberia's competitiveness, as our port director earlier said. These are critical for President Boakai's arrest agenda. We must pursue them, and pursue them with diligence. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we are particularly proud to have served as the diplomatic channel through which this partnership extend our role beyond facilitating agreements to look at economic diplomacy as a critical instrument for mobilizing international partnerships that directly improve the lives of our people. And we encourage the Japanese government, Mr. Ambassador, to use this as an opportunity to invite more Japanese investment into Liberia, encourage Japanese companies, Japanese philanthropists, Japanese millionaires and billionaires to come to Liberia. Let them see this investment from the government as an opportunity for them to leverage and build upon it as we increase infrastructure, as we expand electricity, as we expand the road network. Let them know the cost of doing business in Liberia is decreasing. And we believe that as we look at economic diplomacy, this is the right time. Liberia is open for business and is ready for business. Let me comment from the construction of the original Japanese freeway to invest.
Also speaking, the chairman of the House Committee on Public Works, Ernest Mensah, called for strict accountability and transparency in the implementation of the project, warning that any misuse of donor funds could damage Liberia's credibility and affect the future international support, and urged the Ministry of Public Works to ensure that all funds allocated to the project are used strictly for their intended purpose and with full transparency throughout implementation.
We gather not only to celebrate our collective effort to progress, but also to reaffirm our resolute dedication to the President's agenda for infrastructure expansion. As we embark on this transformative journey, I want to emphasize that the HUS will maintain a firm oversight and engagement with the Ministry of Public Works. Together, we are committed to ensuring that every initiative, every project, and every investment is executed in a steady and efficient manner. Our shared goal is not just to expand infrastructure, but to enhance the quality of life for our citizens, fostering growth and development in every corner of this great nation. However, I must take this opportunity to caution the government of the paramount importance of integrity and transparency in our endeavors. Trust placed in us by our donors and public is sacred, and it is our responsibility to safeguard these resources diligently. I urge the ministry to exercise the utmost caution and vigilance in management and and are used for intended purpose. The misuse of funds not the goodwill and support of partners. Let's move forward. A brighter future.
At the same time, Japan's ambassador to Liberia, Hiroshi Yoshimoto, says the attention of the corridor represents another major milestone in the long-standing friendship and development partnership between Japan.
Today's ceremony is not simply the beginning of a road construction project. It is another important milestone in the long-standing friendship and cooperation between Japan and Liberia. The road we are discussing today bears a very special name, Japan Freeway. For many Liberians, this road is part of daily life. It connects people to work, to market, to school, to hospitals, to the free port of Monrovia, and to many other important destinations. It is also a key route for logistics and economic activity in and around the capital city. For Japan, the name Japan Freeway carries special meaning. It reminds us that infrastructure is not only concrete, asphalt, and drainage system. Infrastructure connects communities. It supports livelihood, it strengthens economy, and most importantly, it can become a visible symbol of trust and friendship between nations. Japan has long attached great importance to its partnership with Liberia. Our cooperation has covered various fields, including infrastructure, health, food security, human resource development, and other areas that support the foundations of society. Through these efforts, Japan has sought to contribute to Liberia's peace, stability, and sustainable development. The Japan Freeway itself is one of the most visible symbols of this cooperation. Over the years, Japan has supported the movement of people and goods in Monrovia and has played an important role in the daily life of the city. Today's ceremony is not simply the beginning of a road construction project. It is another important.
That's the voice of Japan's ambassador to Liberia, Hiroshi Yoshimoto, revealing that the extension of the corridor represents another major milestone in the long-standing friendship and development partnership between Japan and Liberia. You also listen to the voice of Ernest Mensah, the chairman of the House Committee on Public Works, calling for strict accountability and transparency in the implementation of the project. Earlier on, you listened to the voice of Liberian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sarah Beslu Yanti, commending the government of Japan for its long-standing support to Liberia's development, describing Japan as one of the country's most dependable development partners. They spoke when President Joseph Boakai broke grounds for the construction, that's the extension of the Japan Freeway in Monrovia. Today's development, the political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change, Simeon Freeman, is calling on the United States and other international partners to impose sanctions on President Joseph Boakai, Vice President Jeremiah Cohn, and other government officials over what he describes as the government failure to swiftly arrest those linked to the recent U.S. 19.2 million cocaine seizure. Speaking Friday on Prawn FM in Monrovia, Freeman accused the government of failing to act promptly after the Ministry of Justice identified several persons of interest in the ongoing investigation. He argued that individuals working in airport authority cargo handling and logistics should have been arrested immediately after authorities intercepted the 237.6 kilograms of cocaine.
Look, even this whole drug thing. It's been almost 2 months we've been having a discussion. In the 80s, I think you guys must remember this guy called, I think his name was Alfred Verdier. He was representative. I think from Grand Bassa County.
Yeah, I heard the name.
He went to America. He met this person, I think on the flight or something, or at the airport. He wanted this woman to have a big butt. And the woman gave him her suitcase full of drugs. When they scanned the suitcase and found out it had drugs, he said, oh, what woman gave it to me? They said, well, we don't see the woman, we see you. You found the drugs with somebody. You found it within the facility, arrested people, put them in jail, and take them to court. That's the evidence. And then you burn the drug. Today, the drug have not been burned. We don't even know they still have it, or they changed it with chunk powder. We don't know. The people that were in possession of the drug, you don't arrest them. Most of the people now, you say they are at large, but we are a member of Interpol. You ruining the name of the country. That's why we've been on record to say Boakai, Cohn, and the first family and the immediate government official must be sanctioned, not the country. They must be sanctioned as the people facilitating it. We also have on record Boakai went and built a $10 million facility in Lofa. Gave it to his I think his nephew to build, and he says finally now is a regional hub for Mano River. Mano River knows nothing about it. It's not on Mano River Union website, and they built it. And in the end, he said, well, the funds came from private donation from his officials. How many of his officials have $10 million? Did they even have money before? So these are things we see, and we can clearly now say, we convincingly say that building is a product of drug money. So all of these things are things that is going to affect the young people of our country, and people that Boakai and Cohn need to pay for that. Look, even this whole drug thing. It's been almost 2 months today.
In a separate statement, Freeman also urged the government to transition from printing additional Liberian data bundles to adopting a digital money system. Freeman believes expanding digital payment system could reduce the circulation of damaged banknotes and improve the country's financial system.
The last time we printed $40-something billion. If I am, and I stand to be corrected, I think every 10 million Liberian dollars costs us $1 million US. So that means for that 79 billion, we're talking about 79 million US dollars. And that new money has a lifespan of 6 months. But you hear, the Liberian dollar, you know the way we deal with the money is quite atrocious, the way we deal with the money. Most times, if you go to CEO right now, guys that have money, they put it in their shoes. Or you get the money, you put it in your bank. Nobody uses wallet now because you know you use the wallet, so that will take it easily. So some people put the money in their brief. The heat in between here is too much, so it abuses the money. So the money becomes mutilated. So we set up our own security printer. But if we want to continuously print money, alternatively, why don't we use digital money supply? You have Orange, you have Momo, you have other payment platforms. Why don't we partner with them? And it will cost us probably about $5 million that we'll partner with them. So other people in other countries in Africa are finding digital ways to move payments instead of printing money. $79 million is a lot of money. Here we are today, we still want to use the same method. And we have very smart people at the central bank. Why are we using the same method? I don't know. Apparently, somebody has something to explain that they're not explaining. But the reality is, you can actually convert this place into a digital payment, like Kenya is doing. People rarely pay you with cash in Kenya. China, everything now is WeChat. Everything is digital. Why can't we embrace a digital payment infrastructure to make it easier? So market woman, only thing she have to worry about, she doesn't need a smartphone. She just need her small button phone, put it in her laptop, and when you go to pay, how much for the fish, Oma? $200. Okay, what's your account number? She give it to you, you pay. The argument has been that the woman in the market cannot use the phone. That's not true. I can give you the central bank report. We have, I think, if I stand to be corrected, I think about 9 million users on Momo. There are two platforms, right? Yeah. So it means you could have this number on Lone Star, this number on Orange, and then you also have some redundant users. So the woman in the market knows about Momo. So that argument is no longer valid. That's why I keep telling you, Liberia is not a poor place. The managers we have and the people causing us problems. The last time we printed.
That's the voice of a political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change, Simeon Freeman, urging the government to transition from printing additional Liberian data banknotes to adopting a digital money system. And at the same time calling on the United States and other international partners to impose sanctions on President Joseph Boakai, Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn, and other government officials, or what he described as the government failure to swiftly arrest those linked to the recent U.S. $19.2 million cocaine case. It's now half-past news hour. We now go to Studio B, where Colin Rufus is seated with the passion of live sports.
Liberia is at risk of missing the 2026 Under 18 Afro Basket qualifiers in Burkina Faso due to an alleged delay in government funding support for the national teams. Both the Under 18 boys and girls teams are yet to depart as arrangement for air tickets, accommodation, and other logistical requirements have not been finalized. The tournament is set to begin on Saturday, July 4, 2026, raising concern that Liberia could miss the competition if urgent financial and logistical issues are not resolved. The Under 18 Afro Basket qualifiers, organized by FIBA Africa, are designed to develop and showcase young basketball talents across the continent. If the situation is not addressed quickly, Liberia's participation in this key youth development tournament could be in jeopardy. Sources within the Liberia Football Association says initial contact has been made with Winkle at Asotop Park, Kuya opened his account for the club with a composed finish in his first appearance since joining the American side, marking an impressive introduction to his new team. The Liberian attacker arrives at New Mexico United after featuring for Toronto FC 2 in MLS's next pro during the 2025 season. Speaking after the match, Kuya said scoring on debut was a special moment that boosted his confidence, adding that he hopes to carry the momentum into the upcoming league season as he aims to make a strong impact for his next club. That's the sports.
Quote on Rufus with the passing of last post is indeed a record of featured on Blaze News Point. We don't take more development. The executive director of the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force, Edwin Clamartin, has welcomed criminal Kosi George Osman Faircar's decision to reject the surety bond filed by former Chief of Protocol Finat Rondo. Speaking to reporters after the ruling, Martin said the court's decision supports the prosecution concerns about the bond and demonstrates the government commitment to pursuing corruption-related cases through the judicial process, and explained that the court found deficiencies in the bond and questioned the codification of the proposed sureties.
Let me let the press and the entire world know that IREC is sufficient, strong, legally prepared to combat all of 8 indicted cases, and we are prepared to go forward with that. We ensure that we'll have a win in the main suit of all our cases, given the legal capacity that we have. And you listen to the ruling that the judge are giving us 72 hours to file a new surety bond, and after that has been done, we'll subsequently come back to the court and look at the within 72 hours. So if that is not done consistent with law, then the prosecution will now prevail and inform the court consistent with that information or ruling. Tenant has been monitored because we issue what we call new Asset Republica, and all our borders have been informed that the defendant cannot leave the building of this country because she has been criminally indicted. Once she failed to file the bond consistent with what the court is ordering, then definitely she will have to be incarcerated. Subject to the first portion of the judge ruling where he indicated that the value of the bond was sufficient, but when it comes to examining the sufficiency of the bond in criminal matter, there is a provision of our law that calls for they should be ×2. I mean, double the gain. But the judge did not rule on that part. He said that the bond is sufficient. But if you look at other rulings that have been made in the court and other opinions that have been given by this court when it comes to the bond sufficiency, that ruling is still in effect, and for the judge to have said that the bond is sufficient on the value of what we accepted to do. The entire bond has been set aside because those that filed the bond, number one, the lawyer is not within the sound capacity to file a bond. Secondly, another criminal defendant cannot file a bond. So that entire bond has been set aside. So waiting for the renewed bond that will be filed and will definitely challenge. The legal standard, you heard what they said, there are provisions given that the bond must be sufficient. The people filing the bond, assurity must be capable. And those are the standards set aside by the court to ensure that the sufficiency of the bond is determined by the court. So what we are seeing is that on the first and 2 rulings that were made, on count 1 and count 2 of the judge's ruling, we accepted of that. The entire bond has been set aside. So waiting for a new bond that will be, let me let the press and the entire.
Meanwhile, CDC supporter Abdul Khanan has expressed confidence that former Chief of Protocol Finat Rondo will be acquitted of the charges against her. Khanan argued that the government lacks sufficient evidence to secure a conviction and described the prosecution as politically motivated.
And they can go ahead to do anything you want to do today. But one thing I know in this country, there is time and season for everything. Madam Nora Finat Rondo that did what they will walk out of this place free because the government got no proof. This government is only on the basis of raising a line to divert public attention from the real issue. The real issue here is the 19 million drugs. We want to know why are they shooting? How it would take the government almost 1 month to arrest one suspect, but you go after people who gave their life serving the state, and you think you're winning. You are not winning. You are losing bigly. And we are showing you, we're in the country, we're not running away from here. This is our country. We are all Liberian. Nobody can fear us out of this place. If Madam Bono will be guilty under the law and the government proves everything beyond all reasonable doubt that everything they say about her true, yes, she will serve a term and she will still be free because there will be term attached to her imprisonment. But we want to say to you, Mr. President, you have plenty of things to do here. The country is dying. At the present, you know how embarrassed I am as a Liberian. You know how many of my friends coming from the UK, calling my country small Mexico in West Africa. You don't know how embarrassed I am. You don't know how embarrassed I am as a Liberian. That my country is being marked as a country that is exporting cocaine, and you said that you deploy people here for a common force hearing. These people should be to the border. This entire thing is a forever wish on. I'm saying this is a forever wish on. Madam Bono served a true God. She served a true and living God. She will walk out of this free. There's no way she will be guilty of any of those charges. There's no charge. In fact, they're just making her case.
Today's Development Finance and Development Planning Minister Gustin Gaffon says the sources of Liberia's road infrastructure program should be judged by completed roads, not by the number of financing agreements the government signs. Speaking on the implementation of road projects, Minister Gaffon explained that many projects experience delayed because financing agreements must first be ratified by the legislature before they become effective.
But the issue is, how many kilometers of roads actually done within the time you are in? That is the litmus test. Our people don't care about who signed. They want to know how many kilometers were done. When you sign an agreement, some agreements will have different conditions. First thing is that you need to make what they call the agreement effective. The effectiveness condition will include ratification. The agreement must be ratified because it is loan. Our constitution says that all loans should be ratified by the legislature. So you got to get it out of the legislature. All the time you're taking to get things ratified by the legislature, the agreement is going dust on the shelf. The other thing is this: the donors will usually require that you put up the funds for what is called the Resettlement Action Plan, the RAP. All individuals, businesses, and others that have structures along the road that must be relocated, the burden comes on the government. It's not part of the agreement. They will not give you that money. It's only now that the ADB is now changing its modality, that they're putting that in, But most donors, including the World Bank, it is the government's responsibility. So you could have a $100 million agreement for the road, but then they say that you fund the RAP, and the RAP will cost $10 million. All the time you are delaying to put forth the $10 million, the project will not move. So you get a $100 million commitment, but no movement. So we have situations like this. We have RAP payments that were not being done on that. We had contractors that had demobilized because.
That's the voice of Finance and Development Planning Minister Gustin Gaffon revealing that the sources of Liberia's road infrastructure program should be judged by completed roads, not by the number of financing agreements the government signs. The Witness Protection Agency says the government of Liberia is strengthening its criminal justice system should improve witness protection measures and enhance investigative procedures in ongoing drug-related cases. Speaking at the Ministry of Information press briefing, the Director of Witness Protection Agency, Attorney Tiklo Grispe, said the initiative is aimed at reducing civic disorder, protecting investigations, and ensuring accountability in high-profile narcotics prosecutions.
Of recent, you saw all kind of leak from investigation happening with the $19.2 million starts unprofessional. These leaks could even affect some of the people who gave in testimony. So we issue a press statement calling the president to take action. Thankfully, some of the people are already being investigated and we trust President Bouaga to take action. So this is no child play with the government. They're trying to do something. This is serious business. I just like to emphasize. The other law, we have two instruments we are supervising for the country. The next one is the Witness Protection Law. I listened to some of the folks yesterday talking about witness protection should be when people go to court. And I will use this meeting to provide education. The Witness Protection Law allows for us to provide protection at 3 stages. Stage 1 is investigation and pre-trial. So the way you have an investigation for the drug business, if anybody get information on the drugs, you share the information with us, we'll review your information. If we believe your information is relevant and material, we will offer you protection while you go through investigation. And let me publicly say, we at the Witness Protection Agency, with the support and approval of the Minister of Justice, we contacted Mr. Paul King. He provided us all his testimony. He asked for protection. We accepted. We offered him to come to Liberia. And he's been in Liberia under the supervision of the Johnson Security. There is no secret. Why we thought that was important? It was important because we want to get to the root cause of the kids. Now he's here. He came to Liberia. He told us that he got the drugs from Rahim Bar. He gave us Rahim Bar number. Because for us to protect you, we got to investigate. We checked Rahim Bar number, only to find out the number belonged to Michael Brown, one notorious criminal who was convicted at the 13th Judicial left prison. Always fighting for the people in the system. Getting. There's no secret. Nobody is out of drug in the country. Their men were convicted for importing drug 2 years ago. I saw a picture all over. Oscar Brown, he left from China, he went to Ghana. We were in touch with him.
That's the voice of the director of the Witness Protection Agency, revealing that the government of Liberia is strengthening its criminal justice system to improve witness protection measures and enhancing investigative procedures in ongoing drug-related cases. And lastly, of the news scene, the Liberia Telecommunication Authority has intensified its nationwide cybersecurity awareness campaign of a major training program in Vanguard, Bon County. Speaking in an interview, LTA Commissioner Angela Cassio-Bush said cybersecurity awareness is critical for students, parents, businesses, and government institutions as cyber threats continue to grow with advances in technology.
Awareness is necessary for everyone, the students, the parents, the businesses, government institutions. It should be everybody's concern because the threat is increasing on a daily basis as technology advances. So the criminals are trying to develop new tools to be able to stay ahead. So we want to make sure that our population is on par with other countries within the regions and around the world in terms of combating issues such as cybercrime, in terms of protecting our digital ecosystem, as well as addressing issues such as bullying online. So with the LTA has started this venture. It was ignited a little over 2 years ago. So we said we don't want to remain Monrovia because the criminal will not be only in a certain region, they're everywhere. So we're trying to bring the message across. Our target this year is a junior high school students from 6th to 9th grade. So we believe that mainly we're focusing on having more girls in the conversation. One, because, like the saying goes, you educate a girl child, you educate a nation. They're home, they're there with the parents, the grandparents. When scam happens, if they're aware, they can bring that education within the home. We also want to let our students know, especially our girls, children, that technology exists. We want to see more of them within that field. Yes, it's good to be a home. Yes, it's good to be maybe a nurse or a teacher, but we want to see them on par with the new counterparting technology. Okay, so
well, listeners, on this note, I would love to come to the end of the Friday, July 3, 2026 edition of Blaze News. We'll go to recap of the major stories. Foreign Minister Sarah Baredo Yanti commends the government of Japan for its long-standing support to Liberia's development, describing Japan as one of the country's most dependable development partners. Political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change, Simeon Freeman, calls on the international community to sanction President Joseph Boakai and other government officials for allegedly failing to arrest individuals linked to the U.S. $19.2 million cocaine seizure case. Executive Director of the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force, Edwin Clementine, welcomes criminal case rejection of the surety bound filed by former Chief of Protocol Nora Finat Bondo. In a way for home authorities in Monaco to investigate a parcel bombing case that left a Ukrainian multi-millionaire, his partner, and their 13-year-old son severely injured. We say many thanks our news director, editor, reporter, and correspondent for making this edition of Blaze News Point or sources. Arinan Kobogi brought you the news bulletin. Conan Rufus brought you the passing of last post. Clifton Renison control and coordinated this presentation. Blaze News Point to get regular weekend break. It will return on Monday, July 6 at 7 a.m. On behalf of News and Current Affairs Department of Blaze Communications Network Incorporated, my name is Menso Mendid. I present a good evening and have yourself a pleasant weekend from Painesville.